Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Seven Shepherds Farm. Today we just wanted to kind of take you guys along on our typical day in the life for right now. It's February 26th and we are feeding hay again, unfortunately. So we ran out of stockpile that we had fenced off. So we took this farm over August 1st, 2025 and started doing our sheep fencing. The sheep arrived in October, and since then we've been working on fencing while moving the sheep every couple of days to get more stockpile fenced off. But unfortunately, the sheep caught up to us on grazing while we were doing fence. So just to kind of give an idea, this farm that we're leasing is about 1,400 acres, and right now we have a little over 600 acres fenced off for sheep, and that's what we were grazing them on while we were working on more fencing. And so, like I said, eventually after 2 rounds of rotation, the sheep are pretty well out of stockpile that we're comfortable with them grazing on. We don't let them, nip it down to the dirt by any means. We need it to grow back next year. So we are back to feeding hay. Along with the hay, we decided, just after talking to some other sheep farmers, to give them some extra energy and protein, we decided to feed soy holes as well. So we are feeding a pound of soy holes per day per head of sheep. So each sheep ideally is getting a pound of soy holes per day along with hay. Right now we're only feeding dry bales every day, and then we're feeding some alfalfa bales every 3 to 4 days. So we don't want them to have too much alfalfa, but also they don't eat the dry hay as much as they do the good alfalfa hay. They definitely prefer that, so we don't want them to overeat on it. So anyways, that's what we're doing right now, feeding soy holes and dry hay while we work to fence off more acreage, and then we'll start moving them again.
Are you driving?
I'll just do this. Okay, so we're here with the group of 700 or 800 yearling ewes right now. We're gonna feed them some soy holes. We need to feed these a pound per head. We're feeding 24 5-gallon buckets. So it'll take 2 trips. So we'll do 12 buckets and then we'll run back to the barn and get 12 more buckets. And then they'll get 24 5-gallon buckets of soy holes. Okay, so a little info on why we're feeding soy holes right now. We had to stop feeding the silage hay, which we will give a video on that next week. Just once we have everything completely figured out. We don't want to give any information that we don't know the whole story behind yet. So next week, hopefully we will make a video on why we quit feeding the silage hay and why we had to kind of find a little bit of a larger source of protein for these animals. So these animals are not used to getting grain, corn, or anything. I guess you could call us minimalist whenever it comes to how we run our animals, but honestly, we just try to keep them as healthy as possible for as little cost as possible. So whenever we noticed that they needed to have some added nutrition to keep their weight up, to get bred back easier, we decided that if we had to cut out the silage, which was working for them as far as weight and protein, we needed to supplement with something other than just dry hay. So we decided to do the alfalfa bales every 3 to 4 days, but we also decided to supplement with some soy hulls. Honestly, we didn't really know where to go whenever it comes to what to feed them, because like I said, we've never done this. They didn't know what grain was. So we did some research on it. We talked to some other sheep farmers. We talked to our local MFA, and we just came up with soy hulls being the safest option for our particular herd because they weren't used to it. So we didn't want them to overeat. We didn't want anything that would cause any kind of hoof problems, and we needed something to put a little extra protein on them. So here we are feeding soy hulls to 800 sheep. And like I said, we do not have everything figured out. We are learning as we go. We have had sheep for 5 years of our own, but we've never ran this large of an operation, obviously. So our biggest thing is we want to keep these sheep looking healthy. We want to keep them on track for breeding this season. And while we try to be as minimal as possible, we'll also, put some money into them, and we'll put some time into them to keep them healthy and to get a return on our money for them. So anyways, like I said, we're naturalists to an extent, but we're willing to do what, we're not purists. We're naturalists, we're not purists, and we don't claim to be really either. I mean, we'll do what we need to do to feed these things, to keep them healthy, but we're also, we're not going to stick a ton of money into them either. Like, we're here to make money on these, not to lose money. So anyways, soy hulls in our area right now, just from our local MFA, is $162 a ton. That's cheap feed for these things. So that's what it takes to keep them going, to breed them, to keep them healthy. Then that's what we'll do. Like I said, we will definitely tell you guys the truth on what happened with us with the silage next week, once we make sure they're all healthy and thriving, because like I said, we don't want to give information before we make sure that everything gets turned around here. So anyways, all right, well, we're going to finish feeding these soy hulls. Like I said, we do not have feeders for this many sheep, so we're just moving them often to new paddocks. We're not dumping the soy hulls anywhere where there's a lot of manure, where they maybe camped the night before. So anyways, we're just trying to be as smart as we can with the soy hulls to keep it on as fresh of ground as possible, moving them often, and then unrolling obviously a lot of hay as well. So all right, well, thanks for following along, and we'll go unroll some hay next. Okay, so in this hay that we are feeding, it is mostly red clover and fescue from last year's hay crop. Last year we managed this farm with cattle on it, and so we had a lot of hay that we cut that we didn't use since we ended up selling the cattle earlier in 2025. So we still had a lot of hay left over from that. So this hay was cut on this farm. It's a lot of red clover and fescue that they're eating in this particular bale. And I mean, they seem to eat it okay, but like I said, they are still on, you know, a lot of forage as well. But like we just, you know, there's not a whole lot of nutrition left in the forage right now. So that's why we're supplementing with good dry hay and a lot of soy holes. Again, we unroll our hay for these sheep just because we don't have enough feeders to feed this many. So that's the reason. Also, obviously, another reason is because of soil health. It's great to spread that manure out across your pastures. It's great to spread that seed out across your pastures. So everywhere where we're unrolling this hay this winter, we can expect good grass growing there this spring and in the years to come. We are still moving all the groups of sheep every couple of days. We don't want to take any risk of parasite buildup, and it's just good hygiene for them to keep moving. They don't need to stay on the same poopy pasture more than a couple of days. They need to keep moving. They need to keep on fresh ground. So that's the way we do it here. We are definitely ready for spring at Seven Shepherds Farm. We cannot wait to be putting up temporary fence again and rotating these animals daily. It'll be exciting. Growing season is definitely our favorite season. Not very many of them coming down to hay this morning because, well, they just had their fill of soy holes. So it's not a lot of them coming down to the hay just right away. Normally, if it's like a day where we don't feed the soy holes, they'll come running down to the fresh hay. But otherwise, they've had their fill. They're obviously not too hungry. It's good to be out making another video today. Try to take you along on just the normal day-to-day stuff. Hopefully they do okay on it.
This hay is probably at least, I don't know, 60% red clover and the rest of it's mixed grass fescue. There's a ton of red clover in this hay, so that's one reason we're giving it to them. Like every 3 days we'll give them one of these really bales that are full of clover, and the rest of it's fescue, but just to kind of balance them out, keep the weight on. So.
Yep, good to give them something higher in protein every few days, but we also don't want them to bloat and overeat. So it's a fine line we're learning with sheep. So, I mean, they can be tricky little creatures, but they can also be super easy. So these are supposed to be all the yearlings if we sorted them out right, and we are really noticing a lot of super wide sheep. So we hope that that is a good thing, because they should be starting to lamb here in a little less than 8 weeks. About 7 weeks from Monday is from when we turned our rams out. So I mean, it's getting closer. So it's good to see them growing. Hopefully that means they're bred. Yeah, they're obviously not too hungry, because some of them are just still up there lollygagging.
Yeah, they're not even coming down to the hay. So they're not too hungry. There's still hay left over from the last time we fed them, but
yeah, we
don't want to short them. So
well, they kind of been sleeping on that the last night or two. We'll be moving them tomorrow. Like I said, we're still moving them a lot. We don't have a parasite issue, and we don't want one, so we'll keep that away from this farm. But all right, well, thanks for tuning in to Seven Shepherds Farm, and we'll hopefully get another video out later this week. And then, like I said, next week we'll update everybody on our silage situation once we have an all clear on that. Yeah, I mean, it could have been a serious situation, but I think we caught everything in time. So we'll go over that video next week. So be on the lookout for that if you've ever been interested in feeding silage to your sheep. Otherwise, stay tuned later this week, and we'll try to post another video. All right, see you next time. Thanks for following along.